Before the story begins, I'd like to ask you to subscribe and like. This will help the channel grow. The Whispering Hotel, a detective mystery story. It was raining the night Detective Nathan Cole arrived at the Riverside Grand Hotel, one of those century-old landmarks that smelled of mahogany, ghosts, and money. The call came just after midnight, a guest dead in his room, circumstances unusual. When Cole stepped into the marble lobby, the air felt heavier than it should. The manager, a nervous man with thin hair and trembling hands, met him with a whisper. It's in room 313, detective." Cole climbed the red-carpeted stairs, shoes echoing in the silence. The old place seemed to listen. Room 313 was unlocked. The faint buzz of an old lamp filled the room. A man sat upright in an armchair, eyes open, a glass of wine still in his hand. No wounds. No struggle. But on the wall behind him, written in something dark and glistening, were the words, "He shouldn't have listened." The victim was Dr. Felix Armand, a historian specializing in folklore. He had checked in 3 days earlier, asking specifically for room 313, even though it was closed for renovation. Cole scanned the room. On the nightstand lay a dictaphone, still running. He pressed play. Static, then a faint voice, deep, calm, and almost soothing. "You don't have to be afraid of the truth, Felix. Just listen." Cole turned it off. The wine in the glass was untouched, but the mirror beside the bed was cracked, as if someone had struck it from within. Outside, thunder rolled, and somewhere deep in the walls, a faint whisper echoed back. Morning brought no clarity. The coroner's report showed no cause of death, no poison, no trauma, no trace of struggle. Dr. Armand had simply stopped living. Cole began questioning the hotel staff. They were polite but distant, answering only what was necessary. When he asked about room 313, most went silent. Finally, an elderly maid, Mrs. Patel, spoke up when no one else would. "That room isn't right, sir," she said softly. "People hear things there. Whispers at night, like someone talking behind the walls. Management said to keep it sealed, but the professor insisted." Cole checked the room again. Beneath the bed, he found a half-burned page torn from an old journal, written in Armand's handwriting. "The voices come at 3:13 a.m. The same phrase repeated. The river remembers. It knows me." That night, Cole decided to stay in 313 himself. He set up a voice recorder, dimmed the lights, and waited. The clock ticked toward 3 o'clock. Wind moaned through the window cracks. At 3:13 exactly, a low whisper filled the room. At first, it was unintelligible, like the hum of air through a pipe. Then words formed. "Nathan Cole, you shouldn't have come." The detective froze. No one knew he'd taken the case except the chief and the hotel manager. He jumped to his feet, turned on the lights. The room was empty. But the mirror wasn't cracked anymore. It was whole, and it showed 2 reflections. Cole left the hotel at dawn, shaken but curious. The phrase, "The river remembers," haunted him. He spent the day in the town's archives, searching old records about the Riverside Grand. Built in 1892, the hotel had once stood beside the old Calder River, before a dam rerouted it underground. Several construction workers had died during the project, all drowned when the foundation flooded. Their bodies were never recovered. An old newspaper clipping caught Cole's eye. Asterisk. "Hotel opens despite river tragedy. Room 313 among flooded wing restorations." Star. Back at the hotel, he confronted the manager. "Why didn't you tell me the hotel was built over the riverbed?" The man's hands trembled. "Because we've had incidents. Guests complaining of water sounds. Some say they dream of drowning." Cole checked the pipes behind room 313. They weren't connected to the hotel's plumbing system, They were relics of the old waterway. He removed a rusted panel, shining his flashlight inside. Wet footprints led deeper, impossible footprints, in the wall itself, vanishing upward. Later that night, he reviewed his recording from the previous evening. Between the whispers, he heard another sound, dripping water, and a faint voice pleading, "Help me!" Then his own voice, recorded over it, saying, "I'm here." He hadn't said that. The next evening, a new guest arrived, Laura Briggs, claiming to be a journalist writing about haunted hotels. Cole, still undercover as a security consultant, watched her closely. She was nervous, yet oddly drawn to room 313. "My father stayed here once," she said. "He disappeared in this very hotel 15 years ago." Cole checked the old guest logs. Name, Peter Briggs. Room, 313. Status, never checked out. That night, Laura insisted on sleeping in the same room. Cole set up surveillance from the hallway. At 313, he heard it again, whispers, louder this time. Laura screamed. He burst inside. The mirror had shattered again, shards scattered across the carpet. Laura stood frozen, staring at the empty chair where the historian had died days before. "I saw him," she gasped. "He said the same thing he told me when I was little. Don't listen to the river." Cole comforted her, then noticed something new. The wall behind the mirror had a hidden panel, slightly ajar. Inside, a narrow stone passageway led downward, damp and cold. The air smelled of algae and rot. They followed it until they reached an underground tunnel, part of the old riverbed. Water trickled past, carrying faint echoes of voices, repeating the same words. "He shouldn't have listened." The passage wound deeper, twisting through stone and rusted metal. At the end, they found a small iron door, half submerged. It creaked open to reveal a forgotten sub-basement, filled with rotting furniture, moldy ledgers, and bones. Laura covered her mouth. "Oh my God! They never moved them!" Cole examined the remains. The uniforms matched early 1900s construction workers. "The flood victims," he murmured. "They drowned building this place. They're still here." In the corner of the room stood an ancient phonograph, needle trembling though no one touched it. It began to play. A crackling voice emerged, repeating endlessly, "The river remembers." Laura stepped back, trembling. The water at their feet began to ripple, rising fast. Something moved beneath the surface, shapes, shifting like hands reaching up. Cole fired his gun into the water, shouting for her to run. The ripples stilled for a moment. Then a voice, the same deep whisper from the recording, echoed through the room. "You can't stop what's been forgotten." They escaped just before the tunnel collapsed. Back upstairs, drenched and shaking, Cole realized his recorder had been running. But when he played it back, the voices didn't match. It was his own voice, whispering, "You shouldn't have listened." The next day, the hotel was evacuated after reports of flooding in the basement. City engineers confirmed the old river had breached its walls again. The structure was unsafe. Cole returned one last time to gather evidence. The halls were silent, the air heavy with dampness. He entered room 313. The mirror, the armchair, the glass of wine, all exactly as they'd been that first night. On the desk lay a small wooden box with his name carved into it. Inside, the dictaphone. He pressed play. Static. Then a voice, his own. "The river remembers, Nathan. And now so do you." The lights flickered. Water seeped through the carpet, forming slow, deliberate ripples. In the mirror's reflection, he saw them. Dozens of faces behind him, pale and dripping, their mouths moving in perfect unison. He turned. The room was empty. By morning, the Riverside Grand had collapsed entirely, swallowed by the river it had buried more than a century ago. Rescue teams found no trace of Detective Nathan Cole. Only his recorder, still dry, still running. On it, one final whisper. He listened,